Hey y'all. Um, this is a tough one for me to sort of talk about, just because it's one that I was, I guess, like so engaged with when I was watching it because I was, confused initially on where it was going, but by the time it gets to it, it's like pretty heavy hitting. Um, the movie for October 8th was Silent House. It was the remake, the 2011, with Elizabeth Olsen. I know I said before that I don't really do research on certain things when it comes to the movies. I'll just watch them and form my own opinion. But because of kind of how much was going on, just like how many questions I had, I actually did just do like a bit of research here and there, and that's kind of how I found that this is a remake off of a Spanish movie from the year before. So 2010 is when that one came out. So I might have to end up watching that now just to see like the differences in between. But uh, other things I kind of researched, just like the directors and what else they've done, and minor sort of reviews on the movie, just to kind of see what the like takeaway or like perception people had. I mean, again, like I know I said that I usually just sort of just like go on what I saw, or just go based on my own thing. But yeah, this one just sort of left me with like a lot of questions, and I mean I feel like I picked it up for the most part. I mean, full spoilers because I feel like that's like the biggest thing to talk about, right? Is that ending, and I guess like everything building up to the ending, right? Because I mean initially it starts and it almost seems like it's gonna be like another kind of like home invasion type movie, but as it goes on, it's sort of Elizabeth Olsen's character working through like a trauma and like having these like things resurface in her life, and it eventually leads up to her kind of realizing that she was a victim to abuse from her father and uncle. Um, physical abuse like we see in the movie, but then potentially even like a sort of sexual abuse. uh, so very like kind of heavy subject matter. But like I said in a previous video, I think horror is such a great genre to explore things like that, um, because obviously, that stuff is real and it's very horrific. So what better? Um, but yeah, so obviously the movie is just like her kind of like unraveling these truths that happen, and by the end of it, she ends up getting revenge on her father and uncle, and then obviously her father is like the main perpetrator, but I guess it explores like another sort of abuse as well, which would be neglect. Even though the uncle never, or like it's implied that he never really participated, in the act of abuse, the neglect is still abuse. Um, and I guess that's sort of what I got from it. And I mean, when people talk about it, they just sort of say basic things like, "Oh yeah, I enjoyed it. Elizabeth Olsen is, she has really great acting in it." And I mean, she does. She's a terrific actress. And I mean, especially in this, and she's so young at the time too. I mean, she's young now, obviously, but younger than I would have expected. She's like 36 right now or something like that. So I mean, 2011, like 14 years ago. So she would have been like 22 or something. So pretty young, but great performance. Um, yeah, so much that she does. You get like a real, just like idea of like how horrified she is. Sort of like living through all this. And man, like there's a really good scene specifically where she sort of has a very loud, silent scream. She's like hiding underneath the table. Um, but then I guess that I mean the hiding under the table thing. I'm thinking about it right now. But I guess that goes back to the abuse, right? Because I mean, you can watch this movie and you say, "Oh wow, like it's kind of silly how she just like hides under like a bed, hides under anything like that, because like oh she's gonna be easily found." But I mean, that's kind of the point. She's so like traumatized from these events of her past that she sort of regresses in a way to how she would have acted when she was a kid, sustaining the abuse. I mean, when you're a kid, um, in order to kind of get away, you hide, and like you tend to hide in low places, like places that you can crawl under. So I mean, even as an adult, she does the same thing. She hides under tables. She hides under beds, and like just like in tight spaces where she can't be like easily like grabbed or seen. Um, And I actually recorded like something beforehand, and it was difficult to kind of form how I wanted it to words. So I just kind of sat and thought about it a bit more, and I feel like I'm getting everything out a bit more clear. But it's sort of difficult to talk about something like this because I mean, obviously, I've never like gone through anything as traumatic as that. Um, but I've seen a lot of movies that have explored the concept. Um, but I feel like not have having experienced something like this, kind of makes it difficult to talk about it a bit because there's no shared experience. Um, and then as well, I feel like this is very much told from a woman's perspective, and obviously, right? I have no perception on that. Uh, I mean, but even still, like just with how the movie presents stuff and the acting in it, uh, if you're like an understanding and open-minded person, you can understand how scary something like this is. I feel like if you're sort of a casual fan and of like horror or just movies, and you were to watch something like this, I feel like part of the takeaway would be kind of like, oh, it's a bit slow, a bit boring. But so much happens, I think, and there's like a lot of like real fear that you can feel throughout the movie. But again, that's just like my sort of opinion on this. I mean, even now, I still feel like it's kind of difficult to talk about. But, it's the movie I watched, so it's the movie I want to say just a few things on. And I guess that's like the bulk of it on like a story level. I guess now it's probably a better time to just like talk about some like the more like filmmaking aspects of it. I actually looked at the directors just to see some of the other stuff they've done. And I guess they're a duo that I'm gonna have to keep an eye out for because they're like a husband and a wife. Um, and they've like directed a few movies together, or directed, co-directed a few movies together, so maybe I'll have to check those out just to kind of see like like what they're all about, since I was so like invested in actually doing research for this movie specifically, even while I was watching it. Which, I mean, I said before, like, I don't really like to be on my phone when I'm watching movies, but I just had so many questions um, about like the general plot. Yeah, because I'm like so curious on like where it's going, and obviously after I finished it, I like knowing some of the stuff, I just wanted to kind of confirm what I was thinking, to just make sure like I was on the right page, to make sure I picked up everything correctly. And then I guess also just doing like kind of outside research, more so about like the filmmaking, because if I'm going to talk about that, I think it's very well made. Obviously, the sound design is kind of crucial, considering you only really following one character for the most part. You need, to get your audience in that same mind space. And I mean, she's like so afraid of noises and like lots of small things sort of set her off. So just having these like moments of like pure silence and then loud crashing, it's a contrast that I feel like I've complained about before, having like low volume and then like high volume stuff. But for this, and the way they actually executed it, it works so much better, compared to other things that we've talked about already. Um, and then I mean, even then, they really do play into the silence a lot of the time, because it's it's how Elizabeth Olsen's character, I guess, expresses her fear. She kind of just like regresses and like bottles it up, stays quiet a lot of the time, um, out of fear of being seen, and sustaining more like abuse or potential violence. Um, so all of that, great on the like sound design level, and then lighting. It's good because I mean, like, that the house that they're in, like the setup is like they're trying to renovate this place, and she's only there with her dad and uncle, her abusers, so it's already kind of like a tough situation. And then they have like no like power or anything like that, so it's like very dark, and like the only light you get is like from these lanterns that they carry around. So there's moments in it that are just either like really dark, or there's like one light source, which is sort of like an interesting uh, way to like also like add on to the fear and stuff. Because light typically represents hope. So I mean, if you're surrounded by darkness, then things are hopeless. Um, And then I guess like the obvious thing to talk about is the like the one shot. It's a movie that's it has the illusion of being just like one take, and that's something I was like picking up on pretty quickly. I feel like I was watching it, and I was like, the camera's doing a lot of stuff to where like they don't really have to like do cuts or anything like that. And if you're super observant, you can kind of pick out when they do the cuts because obviously, I mean, it's very difficult to do a whole hour 30 no cuts. It would take way too much planning and just perfect execution on everything. So there's little tricks to like where they can like sneak in a cut. Uh, what was it? The thing I was reading was saying how they would shoot in like 15 to like 30-minute sequences, uh, and I feel like I was picking up on that too. Whenever sometimes they'll do a shot where they kind of pan around the room, like you're sort of like in Elizabeth Olsen's like POV, and she's like scanning the room for like noises or anything like that, or like you're tracking a noise through a room, and I feel like that's kind of the perfect opportunity to like sneak in a cut somewhere. Almost like a transition scene like in a video game. It's like to give you the illusion that it's all one big set, set piece. But by doing that, you can like sneak in like small cuts, so you don't have to like do it perfectly every single time, or do it perfectly all in one go. You can kind of do it perfectly up until then, and then kind of reset and reestablish yourself. Um, but I mean, that being said, like it's still relatively seamless. Um, I think when I was watching it, I was just like really impressed by all of it, and it's something that you probably catch on to like very fast. Uh, Again, just like with how the camera like chooses to follow the characters around and stuff like that, or the way the characters will move like around a scene in order to like get this like one shot. There's a really good bit early on where Elizabeth Olsen, like her and her dad are talking, and they're standing like at a table. But just to kind of give you like a better idea on the fact that it is like a one shot. Um, her dad needs to move from here to there, past Elizabeth Olsen. But instead of just going A to B, he goes all the way around the table, and then to B. Uh, just interesting, but that's like kind of when I really noticed it. I was like, oh yeah, they are doing like one takes, but it's just so like he didn't block the camera, I guess, just to make the shot seem like a bit more dynamic, or the scene a bit more dynamic. Um, yeah, so I'm gonna say recommend on this one. I don't know, but it's definitely one that I'm gonna want to revisit. It's a bit slow, like I said, but I guess intentionally so. Um and I mean, the suspense building is great. And I feel like I just need to do like more research, and this might be one where I actually go out of my way to look at other reviews because I do want to see the perception on it, or maybe like an even better analysis on on the movie and see if it kind of aligns with my take or not. But yeah, this is just one that I was thinking about like super heavily, like while watching it and even after watching it. Um, but all that being said, yeah, go watch it. Um, I think I watched it on Peacock, so if you have Peacock, give it a shot. Um, but yeah, take care.